Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Martina and today I'm going to be talking about the emotional journey that I went through with getting my rhinoplasty done. A lot of you guys have seen my previous video on getting my nose done in Turkey, and I kind of took you guys along with me on that ride. I thought I would talk a little bit more in-depthly about the actual emotional journey that I was going through. I am going to give you guys a little bit of a story time for what kind of happened with me getting my nose job and how this all sort of began. I have always wanted a rhinoplasty, and I feel like for the most part, a lot of girls that get their nose done, I feel like there's a big group of us because it's right literally dead center in your face. It's the first thing that you kind of notice. I feel like a lot of people tend to overthink their nose and maybe not feel completely comfortable with it. At least for me, I've always felt that way. I always felt like I'm good with every other part of my body, every other part of my face. I love how I look except for my nose. And it's always been this idea of once I get my nose done and fixed and it looking perfect, the whole rest, everything else will fall into place. And that's just kind of more or less the real story. I mean, I've always been insecure about my nose, especially for my side profile. I've always felt very, very uncomfortable if someone's staring at me from the side. Just that idea alone was just so uncomfortable to me. I've never really wanted any other kind of surgery before. It's always just been rhinoplasty, and it's been on my vision board forever. Even when I graduated university, I was like, fuck, like I wish I kind of had my nose done before I took my grad photos, or like any major life event. I was always like, I wish I could get my nose done before then. At the time, I was working as a server, and I mentioned it to one of my coworkers, and she was like, oh my god, I also want to get a nose job. Let's go together. And we both looked into some rhinoplasty surgeons, and we looked at going into Turkey. And this is the mistake I made. The mistake I made was telling my mom that I was going to do this. She naturally flipped out and told me that, yeah, no, you're not doing that. She scared me so much into thinking like something was gonna happen, something was gonna go wrong. And I told my friend, I'm like, I'm so sorry. Like, I can't go because my mom isn't letting me. That was really embarrassing to say to her, but it was true. Like, my mom was like, no, you're not going. She, despite all of this, decided to go herself. So she booked Dr. Samuel Sahin and went to Turkey, got her rhinoplasty done, and then came back. And I was so jealous of her. First of all, I really wanted to go, and I knew that this is something that I had been talking about and wanting. I just so deeply wanted this for so long, and it was so hard to like see her going and doing it. It was also annoying that it wasn't my decision not to go. It was someone else's, which, like, lesson learned, do not listen to someone else if you know in your truest heart that you want to do that thing anyway, because you're gonna end up doing it. So whether or not my mom would have agreed or not agreed, I ended up going anyway. She had a great experience with this doctor, and the first thing that she told me was he is very confident in himself, and she loved her results and she had no problem. The only difference between her and I is that, and Dr. Samuel in general, he specializes more in flatter noses, so less cartilage and bone density. I feel like you get bonier noses and you have different doctors specializing in that. Dr. Samuel Sahin works more, I mean, he didn't decline working on me, but if you go on his Instagram, you can see that most of his patients are Asian or black, and it's because they have this like flatter nose. It's less bony, it's less cartilage. She actually, my friend, she had a cartilage extraction from her rib cage, which she had to get done. Anyway, I didn't have to go through all of that, but that's more the kind of surgery that he works on. A couple months later, I started working at an office. I don't even know what came over me. I was hanging out, it was like 4 p.m. and I was like, guys, should I go get my nose done, to like my coworkers? And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, like I think I'm gonna go like book my like book consultation with this doctor. And they were like, okay, sure. And then the next day I came into work and I was like, yeah, like I basically booked everything. Asked him for his earliest available date, which was March 27th. And I was like, okay, great, like March 27th. It literally took me like I think it took me 2 days to book everything and have everything finalized. But I booked the early, and that was like a month away from when I was. It was in February. I didn't think about it for the whole entire month. I mean, I was really excited, but at no point was I overthinking this idea of the surgery. And also I booked all of this and then told my mom like, I think 2 weeks before my surgery, because I'm like, okay, I've already booked everything. What is she gonna do? Like not let me go again? So I just kind of waited to tell her because I didn't, her nerves were, this lady was stressing out over there. I left March 25th. I got there on March 26th, and then my surgery was March 27th. At no point in all of this was I nervous about even being by myself. I know a lot of people in my comments are kind of shocked that I went by myself, but I'm a very like, leave me, I just want to eat like soup and watch my television show. Like I'm very independent when it comes to recovering from anything like colds, like anything like that. I mean, I don't really like need to be taken care of. I wouldn't have been against going with my friend when she wanted to go. I actually thought maybe it would be better. We would be both going through the same thing. So it kind of made sense to go together, but because it kind of fell through, I was like, whatever. Once I landed and I got my blood test done, I had dinner, I went to bed, and then the next morning, I still was not nervous, guys. Like, nothing about this was intimidating to me. I was just excited. I was just looking forward to doing what I came to do. And it wasn't until they were like, okay, ma'am, like we're taking you to the surgery room. The second they started rolling me, and these nurses were so like, go, go, go. It was serious. Like that was the moment that shit kind of hit the fan for me. And then I started thinking about what I talked about in my consultation and what I asked from him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what if he misunderstood me? As I've said before, I didn't show this man any photos. I kind of told him to like roll with it. And I feel like that gave me a lot of anxiety because believe it or not, I'm actually a very controlling person. And this is like, this surgery is supposed to fix everything, remember? I need this to actually look perfect, otherwise I'm gonna lose my shit. Before they put the mask on to like put me down to sleep, I almost was gonna start screaming because I was gonna be like, wait, I need to talk to the surgeon again. Just because I legit felt like I did not do a great job at describing what I wanted. And I had this internal panic of, well, what if he doesn't give me exactly what I want? Because I was being extremely vague with the whole situation. They put my mask on and I was like, you know what? Like whatever happens, happens at this point. Like I've made my bed. I have to go lie in it. I definitely should have been way more prepared for the consultation. Like I actually think it's crazy that I wasn't prepared for this consultation. If you know me at all, you know how like really particular I am with certain things. Anyway, the surgery happened. I was very like numb to the idea of everything throughout this time. There was no emotional recourse to anything that had just happened. The only thing that I kept thinking was like my cast looked so cute on me.
It's 4 a.m. It feels so cute. I literally can tell that my nose looks so good.
And I wasn't getting over this idea of like having a potentially slopey nose was so like, I was kind of living on cloud nine. But again, I hadn't seen anything at this point. I didn't know what was going on. The next morning, I woke up and my surgeon came to see me right before I was discharged from the hospital. And he was like, how do you like your photos? And I was like, what photos? And he was like, oh, like I sent you photos of your like your table photos, your before and after. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't see them. And he showed them to me. He was standing there looking at me, looking at these photos of my nose. And I did not like them, guys. Like I was not happy with the results. I felt so uncomfortable, like, and I think it's because I had this extremely high standard of what might, and how like my entire face was gonna look completely different, which isn't the case. Like, it is, you're still you. I feel like because I put so much pressure on my nose, I just was so disappointed with the results. But obviously I lied to him. I was like, wow, this looks amazing. Thank you so much, doctor. Love you to pieces. And he was like, okay, great, love that for you. And he kind of like left. He literally came in for like 3 minutes. I went back to my hotel and I was still so like dazed and confused. Like, I was just so like, nothing was going through my brain, if I'm being completely honest. Like, there was no emotional grasp of the situation at all. I was still like so drowsy, and I feel like I was still on a shit ton of medication, so really nothing was happening. Like, my brain was empty. I just knew I didn't really like these photos, but it didn't even seem to bother me that much. It just happened in the moment when he showed me these photos, and I was like, okay, I don't like that. And then the second he walked away, I was kind of like, okay, I just like need to recover, and like I need to like be chill and calm. And also, there's something to be said with like the photos that he showed me and how I felt. I still felt better about myself. I still felt like, okay, my nose is giving cunt. Like, okay, my nose is slaying right now. Like, the cast looked good on me, and there was this a bit of a disassociation from how I was feeling and how I felt a lot more confident about my face, and this idea that I didn't really like these photos that he showed me. I was in extreme recovery for the first 3 days, bedridden, TV watching for the entire time, constantly on social media. The nurses and doctors would come and check up on me every couple hours, and they kept telling me, like, you need to go for a walk, like you need to walk for like at least 5 to 10 minutes. And I could barely, like, I couldn't really do that. I was just in no position to be doing that. What jolted this sense of like pushing myself out of the room was actually meeting people there. And if you watch the vlog, you know that I made a couple friends there who were also going through rhinoplasties at the same time as me, and like we all kind of pushed each other into be like kind of being normal and like getting into a normal routine. They were so into this idea of going and getting their nails done and getting their hair done and kind of tending to themselves. I really felt like I kind of needed that, and it was really nice having them around because I felt like we were having conversation and we were talking and and I guess that's why people have others come and take care of them. But this idea that I didn't know who they were, so I was kind of making a first impression on them, made me switch and like kind of code switch into who I really am versus like this recovery slumpish person that I wanted to be. So it was a huge contrast. When I would be back in my hotel room, I was like, okay, like bed, pineapple juice, watching TV. And then when I was with them, I was like, let's get to know each other, let's have fun, let's talk, let's do whatever. And they were such funny girls that we literally had to like calm down. Every time we would laugh, like our stitches from right under our nose would pull and stretch, and it would actually hurt. So we would be like on a no joking strict regime. On the third day, that idea of not liking my nose really hit me. At this point, I was still in a lot of pain, and I think the medication was kind of wearing off, and like the novelty of it all was wearing off a little bit. And I came to this realization that I actually like didn't have to do this. Like, this was completely by choice, and that I'm going through all this pain for a nose that I didn't really like, and it kind of really hit me hard.
I also feel like I saw my results and I was just really shocked with how they looked. Like, it's not like I had any issue with my surgeon at all. I think he did such a great job. It was just like looking at your face for the first time and it looking like not something you've ever been used to.
I was like, why would I do this to myself? Why would I spend all this money? Why would I put myself through all this pain just to not really like my end results? And then the next morning, on the 4th day, I woke up as a completely different person. The 4th day, the pain was so minimal. Like, I had gone from a straight, like, 8 out of 10 pain to, like, a 3 out of 10 on pain level. And the difference was so drastic that it was sort of like, you know what, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't love this new nose. What matters is you did something you've been wanting to do for so long. At the end of the day, it's gonna be more symmetrical than what you started out with, and your side profile is gonna be slightly better than what you started off with. So like, stop complaining, go enjoy being in this new country, go hang out with these girls that you met, and go like have a great time and enjoy the rest of your trip while you're there. On my 6th day was my cast removal, which honestly went really, really well. It was crazy because I was hyper fixating on these photos that honestly I looked completely dead in. Like, you're asleep on these table photos and your mouth is open and you're looking all like really weird. And from seeing that to seeing myself in person take my cast off, huge difference. I was so happy with my results and I actually loved my nose way more than I expected to like my nose. And I don't even know how that's possible because it was the exact same nose I saw in the photos. But my mentality around it just completely changed. What I came to realize was the reason that I didn't really like my nose at the very beginning was because I felt like I was going to look like a completely different person. I was comparing myself to people that don't look like me and that aren't me. And I've had this happen before where I'm going to get my hair done and I show them pictures of this girl with, you know, blonde hair, and I'm pointing to this picture and I'm like, I want her hair. I really like her hair. And the hairstylist will do an absolutely amazing job for you and give you exactly that person's hair. But at the end of the day, you might have this slight feeling of, but I don't look like her. And it's because you're not really picturing their hair on you. You're actually comparing yourself to them. And the truth is, some people are going to look better with blonde hair and some people aren't going to look as good with blonde hair. And even if you get the exact same results, you're not going to look like that person. It was funny because my sister also got her nose done a couple months after me, and she came in my room this one day and she was like, hey, do you feel like you're not as hot as you expected to be with your nose? With your new nose? And I was like, yeah, like I actually do feel that way. And she's like, yeah, I don't know what it is, but I just expect it to look so much better with my nose done. I've definitely gained my confidence back, for the better or worse, over the past year, and I have really been loving my nose, honestly. I feel like it meshes with my face. It kind of, I don't know, I think I'm just used to it now, where I think this like jolt of like having something that's completely unfamiliar to you takes time and adjusting to get used to. But I look at photos of my old nose, I don't associate with that person anymore. Like, that is just not who I am anymore. I've really grown into this nose and I've really grown to love this nose so much more than I ever thought I would. So that is my entire little rant about how I've gone from before my nose job, how I was feeling throughout my nose job, and how I felt after my nose job. Everyone is different and everyone's gonna feel so differently about growing into their new face. I hope this was helpful to you in any way. If you're about to get your nose done, if you're going through it right now, I wish you all the best in your rhinoplasty journey.